Welcome everyone. Today I want to share something with you that might change the way you think about starting anything new in your life. It's about a simple truth that most successful people know, but rarely talk about. And it's this: you will never feel completely ready. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wanted to start something new? Maybe learn a new language, start a business, begin a fitness routine, or even just speak up in a meeting at work. But then you stopped yourself. You thought, I'm not ready yet. I need to learn more first. I need to prepare better. I need to wait until I feel confident. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world feel exactly the same way. They wait and wait, preparing and planning, hoping that one day they'll wake up feeling ready. But that day never comes. And their dreams stay dreams. The truth is, waiting until you feel ready is a trap. It's a comfortable trap, but it's still a trap. Because confidence doesn't come from preparation alone. Real confidence comes from action. It comes from starting before you're ready, making mistakes, learning, and discovering that you're stronger than you thought. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a young man named David. David is 28 years old, and he works in an office doing a job he doesn't really enjoy. Every morning, his alarm goes off at 6:30, and he drags himself out of bed. He sits in traffic for an hour. He spends 8 hours doing work that feels meaningless. Then he drives home, eats dinner, watches television, and goes to sleep. David has a dream though. He wants to start his own small business. He has an idea for an online store selling handmade leather goods. He's always loved working with his hands, and he's made a few wallets and bags for friends who absolutely loved them. They told him he should sell these products. But David is afraid. He tells himself he's not ready. He doesn't know enough about business. He doesn't have enough money saved. He doesn't have a perfect website. He doesn't have professional photos. He doesn't have a marketing plan. The list goes on and on. So David spends his evenings reading business books and watching videos about entrepreneurship. He takes notes. He makes plans. But he never actually starts. Months pass. Then a year passes. David is still in the same job, still unhappy, still dreaming. His notebooks are full of ideas and plans, but he hasn't made a single product to sell. He hasn't created a website. He hasn't taken any real action. Why? Because he's waiting to feel ready. One day, something happens that changes everything. David's company announces layoffs. His department will be reduced by half. Suddenly, the safe, comfortable job he's been holding onto while he prepares doesn't feel so safe anymore. David realizes he might lose his job whether he's ready or not. That night, David can't sleep. He lies in bed thinking about his life. He's 29 now. How many more years will he waste waiting to feel ready? What if he never feels ready? What if ready is just an illusion, an excuse his fear creates to keep him safe and small? In that moment of clarity, David makes a decision. He decides to start. Not next month. Not when he has more money. Not when he feels confident. Right now. Tomorrow, he will make his first product to sell. He will take photos with his phone. He will create a simple website using a free template. It won't be perfect, but it will be real. The next evening after work, David goes to his small workshop in his garage. His hands are shaking a little as he picks up the leather. He feels nervous, excited, and terrified all at the same time. What if nobody buys anything? What if people think his work is terrible? What if he fails? But David remembers his decision. He's going to start anyway. He spends 3 hours making a simple leather wallet. It's not his best work. He can see small imperfections. But it's good enough. It's real. It exists. Over the next week, David makes 5 more products. He takes photos with his phone in natural light by his window. They're not professional photos, but they show the products clearly. He spends one evening setting up a basic website. It's simple, but it works. Then comes the scariest part: he actually lists his products for sale. David feels like he might be sick. His work is now out there in the world for people to judge. He tells a few friends about his new website. He posts about it on his personal social media. Then he waits. The first day, nothing happens. The second day, nothing. David's fear starts whispering, "See? You weren't ready. This was a mistake." But on the third day, something amazing happens. Someone David doesn't even know places an order. A complete stranger is willing to pay money for something he made with his own hands. David stares at the order notification on his phone, reading it again and again. He feels a surge of emotion. Pride. Joy. And something else. Confidence. That first sale changes everything. Not because it makes David rich. It's just one wallet. But it proves something crucial: he can do this. He doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't need to feel completely ready. He just needs to start and keep going. David makes that wallet with extra care. He packages it nicely and ships it out. A week later, the customer leaves a review, 5 stars. The review says the wallet is beautiful, well made, and exactly what they wanted. David reads that review 10 times. Each time, his confidence grows a little more. Now David understands something he couldn't learn from any book. Action creates confidence. Not the other way around. He had been waiting to feel confident before starting. But confidence came from starting before he felt ready. Over the next months, David keeps going. He makes more products. Some sell quickly. Some don't sell at all. He learns what customers like. He improves his craft. He gets better at taking photos. He learns about marketing by trying things and seeing what works. Every small action teaches him something. Every mistake makes him smarter. 6 months after that first sale, David has sold over 100 products. He's making almost as much money from his side business as from his job. More importantly, he's happy. He wakes up excited. He has purpose. He has confidence. Not because everything is perfect, but because he proved to himself that he can figure things out as he goes. When the layoffs finally happen at his company, David is one of the people let go. But instead of feeling devastated, he feels liberated. He has enough savings to survive for a few months. And he has a business that's already working. He decides to go all in. He'll give himself 1 year to make this work full-time. That decision terrifies him. But it's a different kind of fear now. It's not the paralyzing fear of starting. It's the energizing fear of possibility. David has already proven he can start before he's ready. Now he's going to prove he can build something real. 1 year later, David's business is supporting him completely. He's not rich, but he's making enough to live. More importantly, he loves what he does. He works from home. He creates things with his hands. He serves customers who appreciate his work. He's building something that matters to him. But here's what David says is the most valuable thing he gained: confidence. Real, deep, unshakable confidence. Not the kind that comes from never failing. The kind that comes from failing, learning, and discovering that failure doesn't destroy you. It teaches you. David now knows he can handle uncertainty. He can start things without knowing how they'll end. He can learn as he goes. He can adapt. He can solve problems. These are skills you can't learn from books or videos. You can only learn them by doing. Now, let me ask you something. What is your version of David's story? What have you been waiting to start? What have you been telling yourself you're not ready for? Really think about it for a moment. Maybe you want to start creating content online, but you think your English isn't good enough yet. Maybe you want to apply for a better job, but you don't meet every single requirement in the job description. Maybe you want to start exercising, but you think you need to research the perfect workout plan first. Maybe you want to learn to paint, but you're afraid your first paintings will be terrible. Here's what I want you to understand. Your first attempts will be imperfect. That's not a problem. That's the process. Every expert you admire was once a beginner who started before they felt ready. Every successful person you look up to has a story of taking action despite fear and doubt. Think about it this way. Imagine you want to learn to swim. You can read every book about swimming. You can watch hundreds of videos. You can study the perfect technique. But until you actually get in the water, you cannot swim. And when you first get in the water, you will not be good at it. You might swallow water. You might panic a little. You might feel awkward and clumsy. But here's the beautiful truth, that awkward, clumsy experience in the water teaches you more in 10 minutes than 10 hours of reading could teach you. Your body learns. Your mind learns. You make tiny adjustments. You figure out what works for you. And slowly, stroke by stroke, you become a swimmer. Confidence works the same way. You cannot think your way to confidence. You cannot prepare your way to confidence. You can only act your way to confidence. Every time you do something before you feel ready, you prove to yourself that you're capable. That proof builds confidence. Then that confidence makes the next action a little easier. And the cycle continues. Let me share another perspective with you. Think about children learning to walk. A baby doesn't wait until they're ready to walk. They don't spend months studying walking techniques. They don't wait until they feel confident. They just try. They stand up, wobble, and fall down. Then they try again. And again. And again. They fail hundreds of times. Every parent knows this. But do babies get discouraged? Do they think, I'm not ready for this yet, maybe I'll try walking next year? No. They keep trying because they don't yet have the fear of failure that adults develop. They don't judge themselves. They just do, learn, and improve. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, most of us lose this natural courage. We become afraid of looking foolish. We become afraid of failing. We start believing we need to be good at something before we try it. But that's backwards. You become good at something by trying it before you're good at it. I want to tell you about another person. Her name is Maria. Maria is 45 years old. For years, she wanted to improve her English. She studied grammar books. She watched English movies with subtitles. She listened to podcasts. Her English knowledge was actually quite good. But she never spoke. Why? Because she was afraid of making mistakes. She was afraid of her accent. She was afraid people would judge her. So she waited to feel ready. She waited to feel confident. She told herself, when my English is perfect, then I'll start speaking. One day, Maria's company hired a new manager from the United States. This manager only spoke English. Suddenly, Maria had to speak English at work. She had no choice. She couldn't wait until she felt ready. She had to start immediately. The first few conversations were painful. Maria made mistakes. She forgot words. She had to ask people to repeat things. Sometimes she felt embarrassed. But something interesting happened. People understood her anyway. They were patient. They helped her. And nobody judged her as harshly as she judged herself. After just 2 weeks of speaking English every day at work, Maria's confidence grew more than it had in 2 years of studying alone. Why? Because she was finally doing the thing she was afraid of. She was proving to herself that making mistakes doesn't kill you. She was learning that imperfect communication is better than perfect silence. 3 months later, Maria was having complex conversations in English. She still made mistakes, but she didn't care as much. She was focused on communicating, not on being perfect. Her confidence had transformed. And here's the interesting part, her English improved faster in those 3 months of imperfect practice than in years of perfect study. This is the pattern. This is the secret. Action before readiness. Practice before perfection. Courage before confidence. It seems backwards, but it works. It's the only thing that works. Now let's talk about why this is so hard. Why do we resist starting before we're ready? There are several reasons, and understanding them can help you overcome them. First, there's the fear of judgment. We worry about what other people will think if we fail or if we're not good at something. But here's a truth that might free you: most people are too busy worrying about themselves to judge you as much as you think. And the people who do judge you harshly, they're usually the ones too afraid to try anything themselves. Second, there's perfectionism. Many of us have this belief that if we can't do something well, we shouldn't do it at all. But this belief prevents all growth. Everything worth doing is worth doing badly at first. You have to be bad before you can be good. There's no other path. Third, there's the comfort of preparation. Preparing feels productive. Reading books, watching videos, making plans, these activities make us feel like we're moving forward. And they're much more comfortable than actual action. But preparation without action is just procrastination in disguise. Fourth, there's the fear of finding out we're not good at something. Sometimes we don't start because as long as we don't try, we can keep believing we could be great if we wanted to. Actually trying and struggling threatens that comfortable belief. But here's the truth, discovering you're not naturally great at something isn't a failure. It's information. And information helps you grow. So how do you overcome these barriers? How do you actually start before you're ready? Let me give you some practical strategies. First, make your first step ridiculously small. Don't commit to running a marathon. Commit to putting on your running shoes. Don't commit to writing a book. Commit to writing one paragraph. The smaller the first step, the less resistance you'll feel. And once you start, momentum helps you continue. Second, give yourself permission to be bad. Actually say it out loud, I give myself permission to be bad at this at first. This removes the pressure of perfection. You're not trying to be great. You're just trying to start. Being bad is part of the process, not a problem. Third, focus on action, not outcome. Don't start with the goal of being successful. Start with the goal of taking action. Success is not in your control. Action is. You can't control whether people like your work, but you can control whether you do the work. Focus on what you can control. Fourth, expect discomfort and welcome it. Starting before you're ready will feel uncomfortable. That's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're growing. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Discomfort is where learning happens. When you feel that nervous, uncertain feeling, recognize it as progress. Fifth, celebrate small wins. When you take action despite fear, celebrate it. You don't need to achieve something big to deserve celebration. The act of starting is itself an achievement. Acknowledge it. This reinforces the behavior and makes it easier to do again. Sixth, find examples of imperfect action. Look at successful people's early work. Look at famous authors' first books. Look at successful entrepreneurs' first businesses. Most of them were far from perfect. But they existed. They were real. And they led to improvement. This can help you see that imperfection is normal and necessary. Seventh, remember that waiting doesn't make it easier. Some people think if they wait long enough, starting will feel easier. But it doesn't work that way. The fear doesn't decrease with time. It often increases. The longer you wait, the bigger the task feels in your mind. Starting now is actually easier than starting later. Let me share one more story with you. There's a famous writer named Stephen King. Today, he's one of the most successful authors in the world. He's written over 60 books. Millions of people have read his work. But when he started, he was a high school teacher living in a trailer with his wife, barely making enough money to survive. His first novel was called Carrie. When he wrote it, he thought it was terrible. He actually threw the manuscript in the trash. His wife found it, read it, and convinced him to finish it and submit it to publishers. He sent it out, and it was rejected 30 times. 30 publishers said no. Most people would have given up. They would have said, "See, I wasn't ready. I'm not good enough." But Stephen King kept trying. Finally, one publisher said yes. They offered him a small advance. The book was published. And it became a huge success. But here's the important part of the story. Stephen King didn't wait until he felt like a great writer to start writing. He wrote when he was tired after teaching all day. He wrote in a tiny space in his trailer. He wrote even though he doubted himself. He started before he was ready. And that decision changed his life. In his book on writing, Stephen King says something powerful. He says the scariest moment is always just before you start. After that, things can only get better. Think about that. The fear is highest before you begin. Once you're actually doing the thing, the fear decreases. Action is the antidote to fear. This applies to everything. Starting a conversation in English. Starting a new project at work. Starting a creative hobby. Starting a business. Starting a fitness routine. The moment before you start is the hardest moment. But once you begin, you enter a flow. You start learning. You start adapting. You start becoming the person who does this thing. And here's something beautiful that happens when you start before you're ready: you inspire other people. When people see you trying something new, making mistakes, and keeping going, it gives them permission to do the same. Your courage creates courage in others. Your action creates action in others. Think about the people you admire. Chances are, you don't admire them because they're perfect. You admire them because they tried. Because they were brave enough to start. Because they kept going despite difficulties. You can be that person for someone else. Your imperfect action might be exactly what someone else needs to see to start their own journey. Now, I want to address something important. Starting before you're ready doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean ignoring all preparation. There's a difference between healthy preparation and endless preparation. Healthy preparation is learning enough to take the first step. Endless preparation is learning forever and never taking the first step. How do you know the difference? Ask yourself this question: am I learning this because I need it for my next action, or am I learning this to avoid taking action? Be honest with yourself. If you're learning something you'll need in 6 months, but you haven't taken the action you could take today, you're probably procrastinating. Another way to think about it: prepare to the point of minimum viable action. What's the smallest thing you could do right now that would move you forward? Do that. Then learn what you need for the next small step. Then take that step. This is how you build momentum. Small action, learn, small action, learn. This cycle creates progress. Let's talk about failure for a moment. Because when you start before you're ready, you will fail sometimes. Things won't work out the way you hoped. You'll make mistakes. This is guaranteed. But here's what I want you to understand: failure is feedback, not a final result. When something doesn't work, you haven't failed. You've discovered one way that doesn't work. That's valuable information. Now you can try a different way. Thomas Edison famously said he didn't fail 1,000 times when inventing the light bulb. He found 1,000 ways that didn't work. Each one brought him closer to the way that did work. This mindset shift is crucial. If you see every mistake as a failure that proves you're not good enough, you'll give up quickly. But if you see every mistake as data that helps you improve, you'll keep going. And the person who keeps going always wins eventually. I also want to talk about comparison. When you start before you're ready, it's tempting to compare yourself to people who are further along in their journey. You see their polished work, their confidence, their success, and you feel discouraged. You think, "I'll never be that good." But remember, you're comparing your beginning to their middle or end. They also started before they were ready. They also struggled. They also made mistakes. You're just seeing them now, after years of practice and improvement. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Are you a little braver? A little more skilled? A little more experienced? That's the only comparison that matters. Let me give you a metaphor that might help. Imagine you're standing at the bottom of a mountain, and you want to reach the top. From the bottom, the top looks impossibly far away. You can't even see the path clearly. If you wait until you can see the whole path, until you feel ready for the entire journey, you'll never start. But here's the secret: you don't need to see the whole path. You just need to see the next few steps. Start walking. Take those first few steps. As you climb higher, more of the path becomes visible. You see the next section. You take those steps. Gradually, step by step, you climb the mountain. And one day, you look back and realize how far you've come. Starting before you're ready is like taking those first steps without seeing the whole path. It requires trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the process. Trust that you'll figure things out as you go. And that trust is built through action. Every time you take a step and don't fall off the mountain, your trust grows. Now let's talk about identity. This is something really powerful. When you start before you're ready, you begin to change how you see yourself. You're no longer the person who wants to do something someday. You're the person who is doing it now. Even if you're doing it imperfectly, you're doing it. If you write one paragraph, you're a writer. If you run for 5 minutes, you're a runner. If you speak one sentence in English, you're an English speaker. Identity is not about being perfect. It's about taking action. And when your identity changes, everything changes. Your brain wants your actions to match your identity. If you see yourself as someone who takes action, you'll take more action. If you see yourself as someone who starts things despite fear, you'll start more things. Identity is a powerful force. And you build identity through action, not through waiting. Let me ask you something. Who do you want to become? What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who lets fear make decisions? Or someone who feels fear and acts anyway? Do you want to be someone who waits for perfect conditions? Or someone who creates conditions through action? You get to decide. And you decide through your actions today. Not tomorrow. Not when you're ready. Today. Right now. The person you're becoming is determined by what you do in this moment. I want to share something personal with you. I've had to start many things before I felt ready. Every time, it was scary. Every time, I doubted myself. Every time, I wanted to wait a little longer. But every time I pushed through that fear and started anyway, I grew. I became more capable. More confident. More myself. The things I'm most proud of in my life all started with me feeling completely unprepared. Starting this channel, for example. I didn't feel ready. I didn't know if anyone would watch. I didn't know if my content would be good enough. But I started anyway. And through starting, I learned. I improved. I found my voice. If I had waited until I felt ready, I would still be waiting. And you wouldn't be watching this video right now. Starting before I was ready didn't just change my life. It created the possibility for me to connect with you. To hopefully help you. That wouldn't exist if I had waited for confidence to arrive before taking action. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It's a result of action. You don't need to feel brave to act bravely. You act, and then you become brave. You don't need to feel confident to take confident action. You take action, and then confidence follows. This is the secret successful people know. They're not more confident than you before they start. They're just willing to start before confidence arrives. And through starting, through doing, through failing and learning and trying again, they build real confidence. The kind that can't be taken away because it's based on evidence. Evidence that they can handle challenges. Evidence that they can learn. Evidence that they can grow. You have the same ability. You can build that same confidence. But only through action. Only by starting before you're ready. Only by doing the thing that scares you. Now, I'm going to give you a challenge. A specific action you can take right now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now, as soon as this video ends. Think of one thing you've been wanting to start but haven't because you don't feel ready. Just one thing. Maybe it's speaking more English. Maybe it's starting a creative project. Maybe it's reaching out to someone. Maybe it's applying for a new opportunity. Whatever it is, you know what it is. It's the thing that came to mind when I asked. Now, here's your challenge, take one small action toward that thing within the next hour. Not a big action. Not the whole thing. Just one small step. If it's speaking English, record yourself speaking for 30 seconds. If it's a creative project, spend 10 minutes on it. If it's reaching out to someone, write the first sentence of that message. If it's applying for something, open the application and read it. One small action. Within 1 hour. That's it. You don't have to finish anything. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to start. Take that first small step before your fear talks you out of it. And here's what will happen. That small action will feel uncomfortable. Your heart might beat a little faster. You might feel nervous. That's good. That's growth. But after you do it, you'll feel something else. Relief. Pride. A tiny spark of confidence. You did the thing you were afraid of, and you survived. You're still here. And you're a little bit different. A little bit braver. That tiny spark is precious. It's the beginning of real confidence. And if you keep taking small actions, that spark grows into a flame. That flame grows into a fire. And that fire lights your path forward. Remember David and his leather business. Remember Maria and her English speaking. Remember Stephen King and his first novel. They all started before they were ready. They all felt the fear and did it anyway. They all built confidence through action, not before action. You can do the same. You have everything you need right now to take that first small step. You don't need more time. You don't need more knowledge. You don't need more confidence. You just need to decide. Decide that today is the day you stop waiting. Today is the day you start. The life you want is on the other side of that decision. The confidence you want is on the other side of that action. The person you want to become is waiting for you to take that first step. So take it. Start before you're ready. Build confidence through action. Prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you think. One small step at a time, you'll climb that mountain. One small action at a time, you'll become the person who does the thing you're dreaming about. The time is now. Not when you're ready. Now. Because you'll never feel completely ready. And that's okay. That's perfect, actually. It means you're about to grow. You're about to learn something new about yourself. You're about to discover that you're stronger and more capable than you knew. Start before you're ready. That's how confidence is built. That's how dreams become reality. That's how you become the person you want to be. One imperfect, courageous action at a time.